This is Cinema Chat. Enjoy the show. Cinema Chat, the podcast where I chat about all things cinema. My name is Izzy, and today I am going to be reviewing the newest Spielberg sci-fi film, Disclosure Day, starring Emily Blunt, Josh O'Connor, Coleman Domingo, and Colin Firth. So, as of the day that I am recording this, the film has made over $195 million worldwide on a $115 million budget. And many people are harshly criticizing it as the worst thing they have ever seen. And I'm here to share my thoughts on the latest in Spielberg's filmography. But before we get started, I want to address some new things that have been announced in the film industry. So this past week, it was released that the studio A24 has made a $75 million deal with Google to incorporate AI into their filmmaking process. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with A24, this studio is an independent company that distributes films that are a little more niche, a little more artsy, and they've grown exponentially in the last decade and have even earned 2 Best Picture winners with Moonlight. For those of you who remember the La La Land fiasco, Moonlight was the one that beat them. And also Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Many people like them because they're not run by a large corporation. They tend to stray away from the big Hollywood type of films. So hearing this news, especially for me, was such a disappointment. We all know AI is becoming a major part of society. It's continuing to grow and develop. But in my opinion, when it comes to creativity and art, there's no need for it. It is once again a shortcut so they can, quote, unquote, make films faster. But to me, that just makes it sound lazy and sloppy. Also, the fact that the Academy Awards just announced a few months ago that any film involving AI is ineligible for the award ceremony, which makes me wonder why they thought this was a good idea. Now, we most likely won't get any updates for a while, but despite the backlash, A24 is defending its decision and believes that they're going to be using it for good. Well, boo. I know this is the future, but I just don't agree with it when it comes to this type of format. I don't think I would mind it if it's used for certain processes, I guess. But to rely solely on it to be able to make more movies and, again, basically have a shortcut for it just really disheartens me. Because there is no shortcut to creativity. And as something to use just to make more money faster, that's just very businessy, and that's where I draw the line. And this is why it's really disappointing that it's A24, because a lot of people liked them because they were different from the big Hollywood corporations. And now they just kind of prove that they're exactly the same. It's all a money grab, and it's frustrating. But anyway, let's refocus back to today's film, Disclosure Day. So, as usual, I am going to be starting with no spoilers, so you can determine if you want to see the film. And everything I say is my own opinion. This is my thoughts, my opinion. So the story follows 2 characters. Josh O'Connor plays Daniel, who is a cybersecurity specialist on the run from a government corporation after stealing some top-secret files that also hold details to alien technology. Emily Blunt plays Margaret, a meteorologist who discovers she has psychic abilities that allows her to connect with Daniel and aid him on his mission to reveal the truth. Going into this film, I didn't have a lot of expectations for it. I had seen some reviews online stating that it was terrible, one of the worst things they have ever seen, that people were leaving the theater. Basically nothing positive about it. But I went in open-minded, wanting to form my own opinion, and I'm glad I did. Now, I wouldn't say this film is fantastic. I wouldn't even say it was great. Would I say it was garbage or the worst thing I've ever seen? No. I was very entertained. I was immersed in the story. The acting was incredible, especially from Emily Blunt. It is a film about discovery and exposing truth, and I think it accomplished that. It wasn't overly sci-fi or action. Those who know me know that my least favorite genre is action. I don't mind it in movies, but when the whole film is based around it, I get bored. I don't want to watch a chase scene for half an hour. I don't want to watch a fight scene every 10 minutes. It gets very redundant and it gets boring. So this was enough for me to where it wasn't overdone, and it added a layer of risk and intensity. I wouldn't say it is a must-see in the theater, but it is an enjoyable experience in one. John Williams composed the score, and he kills it once again. Constantly works with Spielberg on any film he's done, so if there's a Spielberg film, John Williams is going to be attached to it. Once again, nails it. I do think some people who don't like it find it either confusing or too all over the place, but it is something you can watch without having to overanalyze everything, and that is okay. I wouldn't say it's something completely new idea. It does involve aliens. So not completely new, plays in very well to the cliches of extraterrestrial life. Basically, if you've seen almost any alien film, you kind of get the gist. It's kind of that type of vibe. If that's right up your alley, definitely go see it. If you kind of like the sci-fi action genre, I think this would also be for you. If you're not really into that sort of genre or concept, then maybe not the best movie for you to see. You might not enjoy it. It's not scary. There's no horror element to it. It's not like you're going to be terrified of the alien. There's nothing really scary. There's no jump scares or anything like that. It's just story. I think it was a great theater experience. So if you're looking for something to watch this weekend that you just want to have a good time at the theater, I would say go see this. But like I said, I wouldn't be pushing you towards seeing it. Now, this is your official spoiler warning. I am going to be going into more detail on the film starting now. So if you haven't seen it and you want to, please come back and listen to the rest later. I would really appreciate it. If not, let's go ahead and continue. Now, one thing that really bothered me about this film was the CGI. As someone who admired Spielberg's usage of animatronics in the past, this was a bit of a letdown. It looked really bad that it took me out of the film because I couldn't stop thinking about how fake it was. I might as well have been watching the fake animatronic shark from Jaws again. I will say, I wonder if it was supposed to be on purpose, because we later learned that the animals are actually the aliens in a different form. And they do that to kind of adapt to the world to make it more comfortable for the people who are interacting with them. So I guess if it looks fake, then it would make sense that, oh, it's really an alien. But I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a reach. It's kind of hard to be like, oh yeah, that's why the CGI looks bad. Almost like an excuse. But again, I think that's kind of an overreach. I just think it was really sloppy. I did find it funny that they stuck with the concept that aliens are these little scrawny figures with big heads and massive black eyes. It very much plays into the cliche of alien stereotypes, especially the abduction scene. So the two children are abducted and experimented on, which then answers the question of how Margaret and Daniel received their powers. They were those two children that were abducted, experimented on, and they both had a cardinal, who was an alien disguised as a cardinal, reawaken their powers, and that's where this movie picks up. But it is really funny that it plays into the cliche of aliens will immediately come to Earth and abduct us and experiment on us. We also have the whole crop circles in a field cliche. This one was kind of random, though, because it just randomly happened at a time when Josh O'Connor makes a revelation. I do think it can be something about, connecting the dots and his powers and everything like that. But it just was a little random to the point where I was like, did they just do this for the cliche? Did they just put in a crop circle just so that it'd be like, oh, aliens? We get it. But what was the point? I do like how Margaret's powers work by making eye contact with other people, because it plays on the idea of looking into someone's soul through their eyes. Now, Emily gives an amazing performance as Margaret. She is experiencing all these things and not quite understanding what is happening to her, but also realizing that she needs to do what she can to help. Her emotions and her delivery and her lines and just everything really, really carries this film. She just does an unbelievable job, as Emily Blunt does. I think pretty much every movie I've seen her in, she's great. And the eye contact thing just really worked because anytime somebody wasn't looking at her, they weren't immersed and she thought everything was fine. And then all of a sudden she snaps into that moment and she's able to read somebody just immediately. And it's very comedic too at times. But I just really liked that idea and concept because you can play really well with it. But I do think Margaret is the heart of the story and probably my favorite aspect of the film. Again, credits to Emily for that, because she was definitely my favorite character. I wanted to know more about her story, her purpose in the film. She really drew me in, so props to Emily on that. I do agree that the film is a little all over the place. I wish we learned more about the alien technology, because we see it used in different ways, but never fully understand how it works. My question was always, okay, it makes sense for Daniel and Margaret to be able to touch the alien technology and utilize it, but how did Colin Firth's character achieve the ability to do that as well, to be able to use it? When he drops it and one of his comrades goes to pick it up, he vanishes or disintegrates or whatever, but then immediately comes back once it's dropped again. So, and then they play into the whole, I'm wearing gloves, like I can hold it, So I think that was just a little underexplained, because I don't really understand why Colin could use it and touch it, but everybody else had to be gloved. Maybe I missed something, but I just wish they did explain a little bit more of that. I also feel like they didn't really explain why Coleman Domingo's character knows to build this house and why it's important. Because, so Emily's character, Margaret, she basically, the house helps her remember that moment that she was abducted and be able to kind of cope with that and learn more about how she got her powers. And that's really cool. But we always see Coleman in the background on like a set or something, and we don't know what he's there for until Margaret finally arrives to the facility, and then we learn it's her house. But we know her and Daniel are connected because they were both, again, abducted as children together. But why does Coleman now know that he needed to build this house, and why? So there are some unanswered questions that I do wish we explored more. But at the same time, the film is already pretty long. I do think the last half hour is the best part, because this is where we get the release of everything. The whole film, we get, the buildup of them chasing after Daniel because he has all of the information on the aliens that have come to Earth, crash landed, and that the government has been covering it up the whole time. The whole film is a bunch of build-up to this moment where they're finally going to release it. One final attempt from Colin Firth to make sure it doesn't happen, but then they're able to overcome that. Everything has led to the moment, and I like that it starts that conversation of how would you react to learning this, because the whole film there are these discussions on how is the world going to react to the release of this buried information. And I do think it's a fun topic among people to talk about. Some people were saying that they didn't like how they included all that, and then all we see in the end when the truth is revealed is just people watching their screens. And I do think that is a bit of a reality, because if there was unreleased footage from the government that got released online about aliens, I do think everybody's going to be glued to their screen watching the footage and learning. I do think that's very realistic. But some people were mad because we didn't include any of their actual reactions or how they felt or anything like that. But I like this because, again, it starts the conversation of, okay, the movie just ended. That's how it ended. Now I'm going to turn to my friend and be like, so how would you react to aliens being real? Like, if this footage was really real, what would be your reaction? I myself wouldn't be surprised if there is other life out there. Do I think they're skinny green guys with giant heads and bulging black eyes? No. But I do think it's a possibility that there's other life on other planets. So, like I said a couple episodes ago, it's important for your film to sometimes start conversation. I do think this is a good topic. It doesn't have to be serious. It doesn't have to be like, oh, the government's hiding information about aliens from us. But it could be something fun to talk about with friends, and when you're dissecting the movie, explain, how you feel about that certain topic. But the last scene is very well executed. I really enjoyed the build-up and the reveal and just seeing all of that. That's where I was the most, I would say, immersed into the film, was being in that moment and just watching these people react to this moment. This film isn't the best. A lot of moments that I didn't particularly care for, or things that kind of didn't make sense, but in the end, I still had a great time. I enjoyed the story that was shown to me. Could have been better, but I think also walking into it knowing that it's about aliens and having this information, it's very much what you're walking into type of movie. There's not going to be really any surprises. There's not really going to be any major twists and turns. It's just a standard sci-fi action. We know there's aliens. They're on the run trying to uncover this information. It's not that deep. Not something you can really overanalyze. Overall, the film was an enjoyable experience. And I do think it's getting way too much criticism. But I also am not going to go beg people to watch it. The expectation I'm going to set for people is that it's a basic film about aliens that adds a little extra layer of action to it. And if that is right up your alley, then you'd probably enjoy it. If you enjoy those types of movies, you would love this film. And if you don't, you think aliens are stupid or that it's a dumb idea and it shouldn't have been a film, then okay, don't watch it. You don't have to. I'm glad I saw it, and I'm glad I got to experience it. Not my favorite film by Spielberg, but I love that he's still making movies. And I'm glad I was able to enjoy myself. I'm glad I was able to go and see a movie and have fun. And that's what's really important. Thank you all for listening. So when this episode airs, we are going to be officially 10 days away from the Odyssey. I am very, very, very excited. If you know me, you know I am very, very, very excited. I can't wait to see that. And in honor of Christopher Nolan's next big epic, next week I'm going to be reviewing one of his first features, Memento. Be sure to check it out. Go and see it right before the episode so you'll be able to listen to it and follow along. If you want to follow me online, you can add me at IzzyPog8 the number on Instagram and Twitter. You can add me at Living Isley on TikTok and at IzzyPog on Letterboxd. Huge shout out to my DJ as always. Go give him a follow as well at Mike Afters on both Instagram and TikTok. And with that, a happy movie watching to you all. Bye-bye.